head coach of the Atlantic Shore Seahawks got themselves a nice win. They were down, but unlike their game with North Cross, where they were up and North Cross had to come back, it was this time the Seahawks rallying. Seahawks didn't need to rally on Monday night against the Giants. That thing was over fast as Daniel Jones got sacked not once, not twice, like 10 or 11 times he got sacked in that ball game. But we caught up with Atlantic Shores' coach after his team put up, I think it was 28 unanswered points on the board, and here's what he told us about his squad getting the win with us here on The Hash with Hatfield.
I'm here with Atlantic Shores head football coach Wayne Lance. The Seahawks win at 42-21 over Nance with Suffolk Academy as they rally from a deficit to double up the Saints here. Coach, it was a back-and-forth offensive fireworks show, and then in the second half it became more of a defensive game. Your front kind of settled in, and your running game took over with Jack Weaver kind of salting things away.
Yeah, Jack, I don't know if he played running back before this year, but he's been in the program doing it, but he's really taken over and provided us a physical presence. And playing both ways, he gritted it out, had a bloody nose at one point off that last touchdown. It was kind of cool to see him come off and just, that Larry Zonka look on his face, like he just ran through everything. So, but man, so much to end the line, just bodying up. There were some times last year where we couldn't get those tough yards at the end of games. I can think back to the Catholic game a few other times. And so we had to get a little fancy with it to be able to punch it in. So it was really cool to put him and Cody up in there and do some things.
Yeah, and some better perseverance than a couple weeks ago when you lost to North Cross, who a team you could certainly run into. Again, we know about them being a state caliber team like your squad. And the line play, Patrick Linton almost gets 2 picks tonight from the nose guard spot, I think it is. You got Nathaniel McDonald had a couple sacks. We know how good he is at the William & Mary commit for you. He's got like 18, 19 tackles for loss this year already. I mean, was that going to be was that the talking point at halftime, like take over the game that way? Because they were moving the ball pretty well for you in the first half.
They were, and I think we had worked on quite a few things during the week, and we had a lot that we were trying to funnel down into our package and into what we were going to try to do, and just narrowing what was working, what wasn't working. We were trying to travel a corner. Corey Williams did a great job in putting himself in position to make some plays defensively and just take certain things away and allow the rest of the defense just to kind of flow. We're moving Pat around a little bit to play some backer and standing him and moving him. And even some of our second teamers got in there just in the rotation to give us some fresh legs, and they got where they were supposed to get. They pressured the ball and at least helped us make some decisions and make plays.
This was a player of the week type of game for Chris Higgins for you at wide receiver. 3 touchdown catches tonight. It brings to 11 for the year. 6'4" junior receiver. And I know he's very soft-spoken and humble, but it feels like with Isaiah Furman on the other side, who's a big known 6'5" guy, he was kind of up for his challenge tonight.
Yeah. That's the thing. Chris is kind of a quiet, low-key kind of guy, but he's an ultimate competitor. And it's pretty cool, too, to have a guy like Corey Williams to be able to go against him in practice. And they kind of work off each other. And Chris is really taking advantage of some of the moments now, but you get a guy like that on the other side who we can turn around at practice and play some man and do some things, and they love competing with one another. So, Chris does so much for us. And last year was more in the role. He suffered an early season injury, which kind of limited him more to the defensive role in the second half of the season. He played it fantastically. And so really this is the first time he's been able to come out and finally play the receiver spot. And he's really just taking advantage of some of those roles, and he's starting to see some things communicated. We kind of have an open freeway of information between the quarterback and the receivers. Like we sit down a lot and just say, what do you like? What do we not like? What are we seeing? But we have to make sure we're all on the same page. And so it's been a very nice marriage to this point.
And it feels like a sharper night for Mike at quarterback for you. You're sophomore. You know there's always some growing pains, and he responded from mistakes and also made some plays with his feet when he had to on 3rd and 4th down.
Yeah. We had kind of held off some of that stuff, and it's like, we're going to have to open some stuff up and do it. And I think sometimes Mike is undoing is his faith in his guys, which is a great thing, and it sounds bad, but I'm like, hey, you got some room there. I know, but I'm waiting for this to happen. I'm waiting for this guy to open up here. And he was able to hit Blaine on some deep shots early, kind of loosen up the pressure. Was able to go back to Chris a couple times, and even a guy like Josh Sibley who's running all over the place. Like, this group of guys have been together for a bit. They know each other well, and they can play off each other well. So, settling down, especially coming off some busy weeks here, and just going back and looking how we played at North Cross and what we're capable of. They're a fantastic team. Pulled off a big win today against Blue Ridge.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll be in the cards in the future. But we got a tough Blue Ridge team coming up, followed by Fredericksburg Christian, who is one of the top teams. So
yeah,
it's going to be a battle each week and a great test.
Yeah, you mentioned Sylvia, number 6, running all over the place and not too shabby for your quarterback to throw for 270 plus. He's been averaging right around 300 plus a game. But lastly, what did you learn from that North Cross defeat? I feel like you're starting to get back on track. The win over Catholic tonight's game, really sharp second half as you get ready for the October grind and what's ahead for the playoffs in November.
I think simply put, it comes down to us. There are fantastic teams, but I think it's very easy to worry about what everybody else does instead of really just taking a look at us. And when we look at us, you know, Mike Tomlin's my guy. Nameless gray faces is something that comes to mind, but like, there's a lot of fantastic players out there from Schmo out at North Cross, and they're fantastic, talented core of receivers and DBs. The Blue Ridge guys are fantastic. Isaiah Furman, a bunch of these guys, you know, and even a coach like Mike who can put his guys in positions to make plays. But ultimately, it has to come back to us. And so if we can take care of ourselves and fix the spots that need fixed, then we might have something.
Thanks so much, and we'll see you again in October.
Thank you, sir.
So that was Wayne Lance, head football coach of the Atlantic Shores Seahawks, our guest on the latest On the Hash with Hatfield as we recapped their win over the Hansman Suffolk Academy last Friday night at the Sportsplex in Virginia Beach. Some games coming up on Saturday. You've seen some games coming up on Friday night that we'll dive into. But a lot to discuss with you all here on the program. We'll have our Chicho 757 Football Player of the Week in just a second. But I think the difference in that game, really, in a lot of ways, both teams could throw it a lot. Michael Lance finding Chris Higgins. Defense got some takeaways. NSA had the lead early as they got their receivers spread out with Jackson Runyon and Isaiah Furman. But the running game was a difference in my eyes. Ability to run the ball and stop the run, which is what wins in playoff football come late October and November and December when it gets cold. Jack Weaver ran for $140. NSA couldn't establish the running game. I think they had negative 20 yards, and a lot was that Atlantic Shores defensive front bottling them up, making them one-dimensional, and having to throw on second and long, third and long situations, proving to be the difference in that football game. As I just mentioned, we've got a Chicho 757 Pizza Football Player, Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week to announce. Al Kendrick Overton won it from Nansman River. Caden Davis won it from Salem. I hate to be the jinx because a lot of these kids have won it, then the next week they've taken an L. Didn't have from Messiah Delome of Warwick, who was out of the lineup the other day for them in their game that they played against the, I think it was the Heritage Hurricanes, their Newport News rival. But the latest Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week, it's Chris Higgins from Atlantic Shores. What a game he had. 10 grabs for 154 yards, 3 touchdowns in that comeback victory, 38 catches for 536 yards, and 11 touchdowns on the year for the Seahawks, are now 5-1. They have some toughies awaiting, including at the Sportsplex October 13th, a week from tomorrow, versus Blue Ridge, and they hit the road to Fredericksburg Christian, Fishburne Military before the home finale versus Portsmouth Christian on November the 3rd. So kudos to that young man there, Chris Higgins of Atlantic Shores. Well-deserved, the Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week, among the area's leaders in receiving. You got some great ones across the area with Keelan Brody Adams from Green Run, Isaiah Furman, who he played against from NSA. Salem's got a trio of receivers, one of which has gotten this award already in Caden Davis from Salem. From Salem, he was one of the guys that got the award. So there's just a bunch of players that can make plays across the 757 as far as the receiver position goes. And Higgins on that list, just a junior, going to get better and better. As we mentioned on our podcast last week, Napoleon Dynamite lookalike. All right, we'll take a timeout and come back with more, including Daryl Cherry, Jerome Rhodes on deck from the Warhill Lions. It is On the Hash with Hatfield. And always, if you got a Player of the Week nominee, drop us a note. We'll certainly take your suggestions and your nominees, be it through Twitter, email, direct message, comments. We're always wanting to hear from all of you out there. But we'll take a time out and hear from some retired players from the National Football League and also one of our sponsors before we hear from Daryl Cherry. It's all here with On the Hash with Hatfield.
Man, I wish I was out there.
Let's unretire.
Why not?
Randy Moss.
Dan Marino? You all right?
Hey, Grandpa!
Grandpa? I still got it.
22. 22.
Career game number 13. Let's see.
Hey. I need that senior discount.
That's the game. Mr. Marino, you mind if I take a selfie? Thank you.
I'm good right here, bro.
Unretirement? Who'd be dumb enough to do that?
Okay, who here has reached peak fall?
Peak what?
Peak fall!
I am wearing plaid.
And I'm wearing a cardigan.
I guess I am eating snickerdoodle cookie dough.
And I am eating a pumpkin pie blizzard.
The new DQ Fall Blizzard menu has reached peak fall. Pumpkin pie, snickerdoodle cookie dough, and more. They are back!
I just love fall.
Apparently we all do.
Oh, they did it! Peak fall achieved! DQ, happy tastes good.
All right, we're back here with On the Hash with Hatfield as we talk to you about the high school football scene around the 757. First set of power ratings are out. We'll go through this after the first interview that we're going to hear from, and that is the head football coach of the Kempsville Chiefs, who got themselves a crazy comeback win. They were up 11 against Bayside, lost the lead, got it back. Freshman running back has stolen the show for them, and they're now back to 500 at 3-3 overall. We're talking about Coach Daryl Cherry. Once upon a time was an assistant coach with the Tallwood Lions. Now he's gotten Kempsville turned around after back-to-back Region 5A championship appearances. And despite graduating 20 seniors, here they are competing for a playoff spot. And they want to get a home playoff game in the first round if they can. So here's what he told us after the win over Bayside on Monday night on The Hash with Hatfield.
Okay, I'm here with Kempsville head football coach Daryl Cherry. His Chiefs win an exciting one tonight by a count of 21-17 over the Bayside Mullins on the road to even their record to 3-3 overall. Coach, it was looking like a ho-hum 14-3 win. You lost the lead. They put together about a 75, 85-yard drive late. But you guys are able to pull it out behind your running game. The trench mob up front paving the way, led by the JMU commit Deacon Rawls. And what can you say about the freshman Tajay Curtis? 171 yards tonight and the winning touchdown on 18 attempts, just a freshman.
Oh man, this young man, he has a lot, going for him right now. He's learning how to play at the high school level. As far as learning his patience and finding holes and believing in the guys up front. That's the biggest thing. We had a good 1-2 punch. Hopefully DJ can get himself back healthy again. But we can just look at any one of our guys in the backfield and they can take care of business back there. So, but hats off to this young man. He's special.
Speak on just the unsung heroes and the perseverance through some injuries you've all. We talked back in the summertime about, we lost some valuable senior leadership like Karan Boyd is at Duke and Naquan, Washington Pierce, Snooty. So you need some guys to step up around kind of your mainstays like Raleigh McIntosh, Deacon Rawls, and others. And tonight you had a couple of those guys do that. I think the kickoff return that set you up around midfield from Tyron Kellum, I think it was, and then Elijah McDaniel making that tackle on 4th and 1, knowing that they had a chance to get it further. How much is that something just kind of keep the kids' heads up when it's been some of these back and forth? Beach District games have gone on to the last play a lot of times this year.
Well, the biggest thing is, losing 20 guys, you lose a lot of your core team. And right now, these guys, we got a lot of sophomores and freshmen and very few seniors that are playing right now. And these guys got to learn how to win. We can't rely on, like you said, the boys and things like that. So we got to rely on these young guys and be able to make a chance to make a play. Rely on our big guys like, like I said, Deacon Rawls and Riley McIntosh, to lead the way as seniors. But, we right now have to learn how to win. That's the biggest thing. So, like you said, with the up and down games and things like that, dropping to, Tallwood and to Kellum, like we have to learn how to win. We have to learn how to finish the game. So, we take it week by week and, each game's a learning experience for us.
And I think we've all found out through the early part of the season is no leads are safe in the Beach District for the most part. 17-18 deficits have been overcome in the first 25 games. How much, even though you're still getting guys to learn what you all do in terms of the culture and philosophy here, do you feel like you have an identity, and that's that physicality, getting behind that offensive line and running the football and kind of playing some smash mouth football when you need to down the stretch?
Well, in playoff time, it get cold. So you got to be able to establish a run game. That's one thing that we've been trying to work on. We still got excellent targets on the outside, with our receivers. So we're just trying to create a balance and go with who is hot. Tonight, Trish Mob was hot, and then young boy trusted the Trish Mob in front of him and took care of business.
You had a couple of different quarterbacks you used throughout the season here. Sawyer Whitmore tonight. Cade, is it Edson or Edison? How do you say that? Edson, 6'3", guy who's new as far as being a varsity starter. Kind of assess the performance of that position and what you're seeing in terms of the growth and progress.
That's one of the biggest things that we're trying to establish. That consistency and that confidence. Playing that quarterback position is a valuable role, especially when you got guys that are elite on the outside. And of course, they can get frustrated because the ball can't go to them. But it's about the quarterback. As far as his progress, Cade has done an excellent job as far as learning the system. The last time he played football was in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
So that means, you're looking at 4 years, 5 years that now he's, have an opportunity to be the starter and just to process playing at a varsity level.
Mm-hmm.
So that game experience, he's learning each game of how to control the game and how to manage the game. Sawyer Whitmore, he did an excellent job with us. He's still valuable in the quarterback scheme of things and just to understand the game, but he's young too.
Mm-hmm.
So, we just plug and play, best quarterback. Take over.
Absolutely. And lastly, you have playmakers, obviously Curtis tonight, Riley McIntosh, Xavier Clark, and others. Where do you go from here, and what's kind of your takeaway from this game? Because this could have been one where you folded after having the 11-point lead, and they took it at home, get behind the home crowd, and certainly there's more work to be done. And can this team be dangerous, and what's it going to take to be dangerous as the playoffs approach?
Well, the biggest thing is our goal is to go 1-0 each week and learn from our mistakes and learn how to continue to win games. Either whether close games, been there, the blowout games, we've done that, and the games that we've lost. So every learning experience is going to get us to the area. If we get in the playoffs, we'll be able to manage those type of experiences and be able to overcome them.
Kempsville wins it 21-17 over base of the night. Thank you so much. All the best. We'll see you again soon.
I appreciate you. Take care.
So that was Daryl Cherry of the Kempsville Chiefs as his team remains a factor in both the Beach District and Region 5A. Some of the power ratings coming across your screen right now. Thomas Dale is the top seed in Region 6A. Actually, the top 4 seeds are all Richmond schools, with Highland Springs, who won the state championship last year in Class 5. Glen Allen, who's coached by former Oscar Smith and UVA running back Perry Jones, and then Manchester. Then you run into some Tidewater teams like Oscar Smith, who's got a big one with Indian River on deck. We'll talk about that game in a little bit. Lansdowne from the Beach, who got a nice win over Salem, beat Bayside not too long ago. Meadowbrook and Western Branch. The top 8 go to the playoffs. After that, you're the outside looking in. Pretty much for all the regions. There are a couple regions in the state. I believe 5D is one of them where they take 6 schools. Maybe 1A or 1B takes 6 schools as well. In 5A, Green Run is the team that's the top dog. It's not even close. They have so many playmakers. Kassan Farrar is probably the player of the year at quarterback, although Adams can make a case for it. And they've had some defensive players step up. Then it's a logjam. Tallwood just knocked off Cox. Great win for them. Amari Harmon played well. So did Jacob Rojas. Bayside's got Green Run coming up, so they could slide. Ocean Lake's every game's been decided by 8 points or less. Indian River can move up if they are able to knock off Oscar Smith. That's a huge game for them. Kempsville, Salem, Sun Devils have some injuries to deal with Jason Scooter Williams at quarterback and Jalen Gilchrist in the offensive line. Then Deep Creek and Kellum trying to jump in. FC has not been to the playoffs, first Colonial that is, since 2000. So Lamort Smith, who got off to that nice 2-0 start, need to pull an upset of somebody to put themselves in that top 8 conversation in 5A. What about 5B? Well, that's not schools in the Beach District. It's schools from Norfolk and Suffolk and the Peninsula, Newport News and Hampton. Maury is certainly running away with things there, although Kings Fork and Warwick both unbeaten as well, and Warwick's got that showdown end of October with the Phoebus Phantoms. Kings Fork has come off back-to-back double overtime wins, thrilling wins over Nansemond River and Indian River, the Rivers. They took care of the Rivers, but it took more than the customary 48 minutes of regulation in both instances. Then you've got Granby, Bethel, Menchville, Norview all trying to jockey in to get in. Kickingham and Woodside, who have been teams that have advanced in recent years in 5B when they've had a 16 bracket. Going to be hard to do so here in 2023. And then in Region 4A, Phoebus is the top team. Warhill's right behind them, nipping at their heels in terms of the seeding. But I think the Phantoms, they went out, they're going to get it. Churchland's got a key game on Saturday with the Norcom Greyhounds. It's a Portsmouth rivalry game. 2 o'clock at Joe Langston Stadium if Dontrell Leonard's team wants to host. They need to win that game. Hampton's right behind them. Manor at the 5 seed. It's going to be hard to win this week with Maury on the schedule. Smithfield, Gloucester, Jamestown. They take 8 of the 9. It's not going to be 6 of the 9, which is a little surprising for Region 4A. I thought they might give the top 2 buys and go to a 16 bracket. Not the case. And then Region 3A here, Hopewell is the top team because Sean Henderson got dinged up for them recently, the running back and younger brother of Ohio State Buckeyes star Trevion Henderson and former state player of the year. Trevion Henderson. Then Norcom, Lafayette. Lafayette can possibly pass Norcom with a win this week and the Greyhounds lost. Then you have Petersburg, who plays Hopewell this weekend. Tab, who's taking on Bruton tonight in a key Bay Rivers tilt. Grafton's trying to move up, get to that 4-5 line potentially. Colonial Heights, Booker T. Washington. Hard to believe 2 teams in the state outside the top, or I should say 8 or lower. Stonebridge in 5D at the moment is 8. Have not gotten a win on the field, and Lake Taylor is currently outside looking in despite that comeback win over Booker T last week. So those are the playoff power ratings, the first installment released by the Virginia High School League involving some of the teams from the 757 area code. fact, we will flash up our question of the week after our next commercial break, though. But we're going to take a time out and come back with Jerome Rhodes. He is the head football coach at Warhill High School. But after we hear from a slew of our sponsors such as Gatorade, Dairy Queen, One Life, John's Tax Service, Zoop, and CHKD. So we'll be back in just a bit. On the Hash with Hatfield rolls on this Thursday in October right here on our streaming channel with the Virginia Beach Sportsplex.
Every year, thousands of athletes disappear in clutch moments due to falling hydration levels.
I used to go missing all the time. I let everyone down. I even let Shannon Sharp down.
Yeah, you let me down.
They've been told how you feel yourself doesn't matter, that electrolytes are all the same. Then just like that, they're gone. Get yourself back in the game. Get yourself a Gatorade. Could be the difference between dominating and disappearing. Gatorade, rehydrate, replenish, refuel.
Okay, who here has reached peak fall?
Peak what?
Peak fall.
I am wearing plaid.
And I'm wearing a cardigan.
I guess I am eating snickerdoodle cookie dough.
And I am eating a pumpkin pie blizzard.
The new DQ Fall Blizzard menu has reached peak fall. Pumpkin pie, snickerdoodle cookie dough, and more. They are back.
I just love fall.
Apparently we all do.
Oh, they did it! Peak fall achieved. DQ.
Well, it's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service. 455-6763.
At CHKD, sports medicine is more than just treating injuries. It's a whole team approach to caring for young athletes. With experienced physicians, surgeons, trainers, and rehab specialists here when kids and teens need them most. Our experts help young athletes prevent injuries too, with advanced training and conditioning programs that keep them in the game safely. CHKD Sports Medicine, where kids are more than patients and we're more than a hospital.
Want to know every single week and play well enough each week to beat the best team on our schedule. And I know this week is Lafayette.
Yeah, Lafayette is certainly no stranger to success, and we know just a couple years back, Andy Lynn led them to a state championship during the COVID-shortened campaign for you, what year is this for you at Warhill? Is this year number 4 or 5? Where are we at?
This is my 5th year at Warhill, and as you said, earlier, I spent 15 years with Coach Dotson at Woodside.
Right now, looking at the numbers, just incredible what your squad has done thus far in the early portion of the season, as far as the points per game, the points allowed, very few. You've kept teams to single digits all year long. You've had some good teams that have gone to the playoffs and even advanced in the postseason. But what's different about this team that you feel like could certainly lend itself to your squad making a run beyond this game, which we'll get to in a minute? But this year, what's different about this group that you see?
Well, this is, they've been around for 4 years now. We've got 23 seniors, and 5 or 6 of them have been 4-year starters. And even after that, we've had quite a huge chunk of them, maybe about 10 or 11 that are 3-year starters. And then most of them have, started for at least, 2 years going, including this year. So, this group has, been hearing me speak for 4 years now about the same thing. And we don't always get, the most talented individuals, and we've accepted that, but it's less about talent and more about the people, they are. And I believe great people make great football players. And I got a bunch of great kids. These are some kids that you can tell by the way that they practice, they prepare, and they play that they love football. And it makes it, easy for me and my coaching staff to coach these guys.
Yeah, as this ticker is showing at the bottom of our screen, you've got some standouts that have done it for you on the defensive side of the ball. Ashton Gardner, some of those guys we'll talk about, including Isaiah Rambert. But I want to begin with your three-headed monster, your offensive trio that's been putting up major numbers. Liam Francisco made the transition from running back to quarterback. Jaden McAdoo has already got over 400 yards rushing and 7 TDs. And then Talon Edie, who, if I'm not mistaken, is committed to North Dakota State. There's a connection out there that you can fill the audience in on. 8 touchdown catches here in just 5 games, I think it is. Tell me about those 3, because they've really allowed your offense to be prolific and put up 43.8 points per game to this point in the season.
All 3 are very, very special individuals. In fact, Liam, he's committed to Delaware State. And yes, Talon is North Dakota State, and we're still trying to find a good place for Jaden McAdoo, who is an exceptional athlete, very, very explosive, and he's having a great year. And Talon, he's actually, although he's headed to North Dakota State, he had quite a few, offers. But his link to North Dakota State comes through his brother. His brother was, played college basketball for North Dakota State. And it was a standout for North Dakota State. So he had ties there. His father used to work. Taylor Edie's father used to work out that way as well. He was a strength and conditioning coach, I believe, for Wisconsin. So, while they were living out there. And Taylor spent a lot of time in North Dakota State, and they were the first school to offer him, and he's a pretty loyal kid, and he really liked the facilities, he liked the coaching staff, and he chose North Dakota State.
Yeah, you got a really great trio there offensively. But I know for you, coming from Woodside, where you certainly learned alongside Danny Dodson, one of the best too. Ironically enough, you'll be going against this game because he's now an assistant to Andy Lynn at Lafayette, but the offensive line is where a lot of it starts in terms of establishing the run, giving your quarterback time to throw and allow things to happen there. So give those big guys in the trenches that don't get a lot of love, and allow the Francis, the Edies, the McAdoos to make the plays, what they've done for you so far, and the integral components to that group.
Yeah, and that's where we where our successes come from. The seniors on the offensive line. We got 3 seniors in the middle. Jack Baker leading the way at center. Then we got who's a 4-year starter. Gustavo, he's our left guard. He's a 4-year starter, and Anthony Cunningham is a 3-year starter at our right guard. And we're breaking in 2 new tackles with Leland Hudick on the right side, and Nick Marrero, he's a 4-year starter. He's doubled up on both sides of the ball. He played tackle for us, and now Max Shield stepping into that spot as a junior. But they've done a great job in protecting. We have really good athletes, and with the 3-headed monsters you mentioned, but they're not the only ones. But it makes it easy for Lim and Jaden to do what they do with the guys that we have protecting them up front. A lot of leadership there, and as I said before, this is probably the easiest job I've had. Coaching kids. This is a great group that really receives, instruction, coaching, teaching, they're always willing to, to step up. They have an insatiable desire to compete. So like I said, it's made my job easier. And I've seen that before when I was at Woodside. We had a really good group, and that was led by Aaron Evans at the time. And we were senior heavy then. And this group reminds me a lot of that group that we had that when we took on. We were region runner-ups in Division VI at the time. We barely lost one there to Oscar Smith, who was always a tough competitor when we, in Division VI with Woodside. So this group is a lot like that. And we have a lot of talented individuals. Ashton Gardner on the defensive side has really stepped up for us as a senior. He's a 2-year starter. And then we had a few other guys here on the defensive end playing, doubling up on both sides with Tavion Blockett, who's got tied the Virginia State record in the with the longest catch in Virginia with 99.5 yards. It was thrown to him last year by our last year's quarterback. But Tavion Blockett and, we have a kid, Elijah Williams, also doing a great job for us on the defensive side. We got a lot of really good football players. RJ Foskett, who's got, I think he's got 4 touchdown catches and interception against Pocosin. We've got a lot of guys, and I've never had this kind of group of kids, this much talent. But it's homegrown. These guys have been doing a lot for us. Playing running track in the all season, and to get better for football. And they can see it. They're way more explosive. So I appreciate all the work that they put in, and it's making our job easy.
It's interesting that you bring up some of those names because I feel like there are some that say, all right, it's a 3-headed monster you got to worry about with Francisque, McAdoo, and Edie. But you have some unsung heroes that are stepping up. Obviously, Baker's a 4-year starter. Foskett coming in from Pocosin. Eli Williams, who's another compliment in the ground game. And Blockett, who you mentioned, is explosive and can take a play over 90-plus yards. Do you feel like, in addition to those returnees you had from last year's, the hunger from losing last year's game to Lafayette, that this group has been building towards us? And I feel like one of the early breakthroughs for you that maybe didn't get enough publicity and talked about was the win you had at Matoka, who's a very good Class 5 school on the road. What did that victory do for you at the end of August in terms of preparation for the Bay Rivers District, this matchup coming up on Friday, and then for your postseason journey that'll be awaiting you in November?
Well, it's always something to see when you're talking about playing a tough team like Matoka, who is extremely well coached, well prepared. They've got a tradition of being pretty good, and doing some things in the all season. Great coaching staff. And we had to go there, travel over an hour to get there, and we played them, right in their own backyard. And it was, what it told us is that we could lean on this group of kids as a staff. We could really lean on them. Make things simple for them and watch them go out there and make plays. Matoka did some things that we wouldn't normally see in the Bay Rivers, but we were really interested in playing them because we knew that they had a really, really good football team. They had a couple Power 5 kids out there, and they had some really good size, and they had some really good athletes, some really good receivers on the end. But we felt like, the strength of our team is certainly in our back half, our secondary. We're solid up front. And we felt like we matched up real well against Matoka. And we knew that, playing a team like Matoka early, we would see that type of, that type of offense and athletes, if we get the opportunity to play in the off season, or I should say in the playoffs. And, those are the types of teams that you see. So playing a team like Matoka, really good team, and us, winning the way we did, it really helped to build our confidence in going into not just the regular season, but even the postseason.
You mentioned back when you were at Woodside having those years in the 6A playoffs where it seemed like you'd bang your head against Oscar Smith all the time. You had a couple of really good games in the playoffs too, I remember with Bayside. But I feel like that breakthrough moment for you all when you were there, and you mentioned Aaron Evans being one of those stand-up quarterbacks that you guys had there, was when you stopped Phoebus's state-long record-setting winning streak back in, I forget if that was 2011, 12, somewhere, I think it was 2011.
2011.
Yep, 2011. I remember being at that game. It was a very memorable, victory, close one, very hard-fought defensive battle. I know you've beaten Lafayette before just a couple years ago. They got some get-back last year in the regular season finale. But How much is in terms of the district bragging rights and what you're trying to build there at Warhill, this such a possible seminal moment in front of you if you can get this victory in terms of certainly it's going to have some impact for the power ratings. We know Phoebus is the top 3 at the moment, defending 2-time state champs in Class 3 now, playing in Class 4. You're trying to get a very good home game, maybe multiple home games throughout the playoffs. How big is this moment, and do you see some parallels back to years ago when you played Phoebus Hampton were the top dogs, and for years, Indians had a great program at Lafayette. They're the top dog in a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's the story I told the kids too. Because it's sort of sometimes it's a mental barrier for kids when a team has a tradition of winning and have a really good coaching staff. I mean, and the kids have an attitude that they're not going to lose, and it's hard to break through that when you know you have good football players, you've got some talent on the team, and it just takes what's in between the ears to fight through it, and that's the story I told this group here. I said, look, we took a team, right?
Like me.
And Phoebus is, and it's not just, Phoebus is the players. They had really good coaches. I mean, even for that, we at that time I believe it was Stan Sexton who was the head coach, and I'm not real sure. But the coaches that that were in the Peninsula District they were fantastic, great coaches that were they were blessed with talent. They had, they always made us better. And I told the kids that I said, listen, we had a team that we only had one player on that team that got a bowl subdivision scholarship. It was one kid, and that was Donnell Lewis. And Phoebus always had really good football players, highly talented individuals, and great coaching. And we felt like if we prepared ourselves well, right, and we go in there with the right attitude, the right mindset, that we're going to go in there and fight every single second, every single hour, quarter, we'll give ourselves an opportunity to win. We have to keep playing and playing the next play, regardless of whatever the success of the play is, or maybe we didn't do so well. It should always be play the next play, and that's what that team embodied. That 2011 team from Woodside. They were extremely hard to rattle. They always fought, and that wasn't the only game that we had a close game with. We had a tight game with Heritage that came. We had to win in the last, it was the last 30 seconds or something like that. So that team was battle tested, and it was hard, to shake them. And that's what I felt like, was a story that needed to be told to these guys. I said, listen, it doesn't take, a team loaded with talent. It takes guys that are willing. All 11 guys that enter the field. Take the field is to fight every single snap, every single down, every single possession, and not waver. You have to continue, whether you win or lose, play the next play and fight, and we'll see where we are, when we get close to the end of this thing. And this group, they've heard the story, and they really believe in each other. They believe in the staff, and we believe in them. So, we can sort of lean on that, and not just with with Phoebus. We had some battles there with Oscar Smith, and it was always hard. At Woodside, because we didn't really get, some of the talent that Bayside would have, or Oscar Smith would have, or even when we played Ocean Lakes. But we would still have to go. We would still have to go play them, go fight, and we always felt like if we can deal with what's between the ears, we'll give ourselves a chance. And this group is very, very solid in between the ears. Very high IQ football guys. So we're excited about where we are right now, and what's to come.
Yeah, had some tough roads there in the PD when you had the late great Bill D, and then the Stan Sexton. Now Jeremy Blunt continued that tradition with Phoebus. Hampton with the great legendary Mike Smith, and of course you guys in Newport News at Woodside. Heritage made some noise. It was very competitive in the PD, as was it in Class 6 with Oscar Smith at the top, and Bayside and Ocean Lakes, and a lot of great athletes across the board. All right, every game, coach, we can always boil keys down to simple things like turnovers, the turnover battle, whoever wins the turnover battle, time of possession, red zone, execution, third and fourth downs. But if you were to outline for us 2 or 3 keys for this matchup with Lafayette, and I don't know that they change a whole lot in terms of what they do. I mean, it might look simplistic, but they execute. They're fundamentally sound. They do what they do well, is sort of the old cliche saying. But for Lafayette, how do those keys alter or differ? What are the couple of things you're going to really harp on with your guys as you get ready for pregame in that matchup coming up on Friday night?
Well, the biggest thing there is Coach Lynn. Coach Lynn does a fantastic job, of doing what they do and being patient with what they do, playing good, solid football on both sides of the ball. And the kids, that means a lot. Kids they're well coached. They believe in them, and they're willing to be patient there, right with them. So it comes down to, at least what I see, How patient will we be? And then, execution, and then I told the guys that too, is, it's going to come down to execution and focus. Who's going to execute, their offense, their defense, their special teams, who's going to execute better than the other one? That's what's going to come down to when you're talking about two really good football teams and one with a high tradition of winning. So it's hard to break through there. But we believe we have a group that can. But it's going to come down to, execution, and then, of course, guys, focusing on the task at hand. It could easily be, a field goal that wins this game.
Yeah, I think you could be right. And looking at the statistics, I mean, both of you guys give it defensively, give it up just 4.4. They're allowing only 7.2. So you get the sense it could be lower scoring. Does that favor either team if it's lower scoring or higher scoring, or do you feel like both squads – in your case, you're comfortable playing any type of game, fast-paced, slow-paced, defensive, specialty, whatever it comes down to? Does that really matter? That get thrown out the window when you just line it up on Friday night and it's a tight, down-to-the-wire battle, which is what I'm sure you're imagining it could very well be.
Yeah, it doesn't. It won't make a difference for us. We actually, at least what I believe, and McAdoo has 438 yards rushing. That he's probably had at least just under 300 yards called back. So we really want to be a run-first, football team. But we just have a lot of athletes, and we try to get them the ball in space. And McAdoo, of course, being one of them. But we feel like we can, we can win the game either way, whether it's on the ground or in the air. And I feel like that Lafayette has that ability too. They have a really good quarterback, and they have really good receivers. They're very, very disciplined. So it could easily. I think both teams are comfortable with winning it either way. But I guess we just have, this year we were very fortunate in the air, and we got some explosive guys. And we're not really, we can throw the ball down the field. Sometimes, we throw it out there and it's only about 3 yards. And Taylor and Edie does a great job of, taking a 3-yard pass and getting, extra. And some of our other guys, McAdoo's done it too for us. And like I said, Tavion blocked. He took a slant and, I think it was like a 1-yard pass, and he gained 40 yards on it against Manor. But we just have guys like that. So if we do have to feel like we have to run the ball, we're certainly capable of doing that with the 3 seniors we have, between center, guard, and guard that are 4-year and 3-year starters.
I'll get you out in a fun one or funny one. I sure hope it is. And appreciate your time so much for coming on the show with us. I'm big into doppelgangers and lookalikes. We talk about it on our show on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, the young man from Atlantic Shores who embraces the Napoleon Dynamite lookalike. Before I even met you, someone pointed you out to me and said, because I think I asked the question, which one is Coach Rhodes? And they said, and I don't know if I hope this doesn't offend you at all. They said it's the guy that's the Mr. T lookalike. Have you heard that before? A, and B, do you like it? Don't like it? Have you heard any other lookalikes for you? Because that one I heard, and I thought it sticks pretty well for you. Mr. T is one of the all-time greats, so I hope it is one that you don't get offended by.
No, I won't get offended by that. Mr. T is a great man. I don't mind if that's sort of the vibe that I give off, and I've never heard it, but it's been the vibe that I get from players and some of the students that I teach. But I have heard, 50 Cent. That's what I get a lot of, is that, 50 Cent and I are doppelgangers there.
I can see 50 Cent for you, but hopefully you're saying quit that jibba-jabba and shut up, fool, and you get a win after the game on Friday night as the Lions stay unblemished. Coach, this has been a real pleasure talking with you, and it's been a joy watching your program grow there at Warhill. You've built it from scratch and doing some terrific things. All the best to you Friday night. I think our man Will Garlick will be out there for VirginiaPreps.com covering it for us. It should be a great battle. Going out there, support the Lions, support the Rams. It should be a fun night for football in the Bay Rivers and across the state of Virginia with Warhill and Lafayette going toe-to-toe. All the best, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, and Ed Young, I wanted to shout out Ed Young. He's absolutely right. It comes down to this game. I don't care what other games that we play and we win. It comes down to this one here, the Battle of Williamsburg here between Warhill and Lafayette. Ed Young is right. Wait till that happens first.
There you go. And we'll
you.
See. I think we disagree on the pick. So one of us will be right, one of us will be proven wrong, and one will be crowing on Saturday morning. That's the head coach of the Lions of Warhill High School, Jerome Rhodes. All the best. Thank you so much, and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Appreciate you.
We're going to take a quick time out and come back with more here and finish up on the hash with Hatfield, getting you set for high school football action around the 757 and beyond right here on BeachSportsplex.com, the YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, X, and, of course, streaming all over the web.
At CHKD, sports medicine is more than just treating injuries. It's a whole team approach to caring for young athletes. With experienced physicians, Surgeons, trainers, and rehab specialists here when kids and teens need them most. Our experts help young athletes prevent injuries too, with advanced training and conditioning programs that keep them in the game safely. CHKD Sports Medicine, where kids are more than patients and we're more than a hospital.
And we're back here on the Hash with Hatfield on this latest installment here, finishing up on this Thursday, the first one of October 2023. As always, you can reach out to us via Twitter or X at 757 Sports Talk. Log on to vbsportsplex.com, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like, share, and do all the good stuff with that. We appreciate our guests, including Warhill coach Jerome Rhodes. That'll be up if you missed it later on as well, archive for folks to watch that in its entirety, as well as Daryl Cherry of the Kempsville Chiefs, Wayne Lance of Atlantic Shores. And some games coming up Friday night, big one in the Bay Rivers. I think that matchup can go either way. I know Coach Young is leaning with Lafayette. I'm going with Warhill. I think the playmakers, they have more ways to beat you. And I don't know that Lafayette's passing game will have enough in this matchup. Last year they had Jalen Pretlow. This year I feel like the difference in the game is going to be Warhill's defense has stepped it up. And they have more than one or two guys that you have to key in on. And I think they're ready for this one. I think it's a maturation moment. But would not surprise me if Lafayette wins because they block, they tackle, they're fundamentally sound, and they can run the ball and chew the clock. Something like 20-14 is what I'm projecting in that matchup. Out in Chesapeake, it's a toss-up game, flip a coin, Indian River and Oscar Smith. Since the Tigers put in Lonnie Andrews III at quarterback, the freshman, their offense has smoothed out a little bit. They're starting to get in a groove a little bit. But can their defense contain the Indian River running game? And both offensive lines have had their struggles at times this year. You know the fronts are going to come after them, those two quarterbacks. Andrews for Smith, the senior Tyler Allison for Indian River. This is his moment to finally beat the Tigers. Oscar Smith has dominated this series historically. In fact, if you look at it historically, as far as the head-to-head matchups go, Oscar Smith has only lost to him once or twice in the last 20-something years. This has been really their domination of Indian River. Matter of fact, only one win since 1999. That came back in 2018, 28-16 in a game over there in Chesapeake at Smith. So last 4 years, it's been Smith winning. They won a 19-17 game close last year. Jordan Harris can be the difference maker if River wins off the edge. He leads the area in sacks, and he can really have his big moment coming out party as far as finally conquering that dragon, getting over that hurdle to beat them. A couple other games are going to have some significance across the landscape. Lansdowne, Kempsville, and the Beach, both teams jockeying for playoff positioning. Like what Robert Jackson's Eagles are doing in terms of building. Kempsville's still very, very young. We'll see if they can win another close game like they did, but Lansdowne's gotten a couple of close wins here lately over Salem and Bayside after they lost those close games early in the year to Tallwood and Ocean Lakes in overtime. So maybe they've gotten over that hurdle. Granby, Lake Taylor in the Eastern District and in Norfolk, that's a biggie as far as playoffs go. Lake Taylor needs to win this game to get in that top 8. Granby's trying to stay in the mix as far as getting a 4 or 5 seed potentially in 5B. Don't think they'll get a 4 seed, probably a 5 seed if they can get this win here. They got the inside track. Otherwise, looking like a 6 or 7 for them in 5B. But we'll see if the Comets have enough offensive juice to get an early lead and kind of ride that momentum against the Titans of Lake Taylor High. And in Chesapeake, Deep Creek and Western Branch, again, watch out for. I think both these teams needing a win to really help their cause as far as being factors in the playoff picture. Both at 2 and 3. You want to get to 500. It's a game that has some meaning and matters a great deal to those schools over there. So that's going to do it for this edition of the podcast. We thank you all for tuning in. It's been a jam-packed installment, and we'll do it again next week in October. Don't forget to tune in to 757 Saturday Sports Talk with yours truly and Coach Ed Young. You can always interact with us, comment, share, and we'll hopefully be having the ability for you to call into the show as well. So that'll be a lot of fun for us here in the coming days and weeks and months. Enjoy your high school football action. We're at the midway point, getting closer and closer to postseason time right here in the 757 and all across the state of Virginia. Remember the state championship games for Class 6 and Class 5 this year at UVA, Class 4 and Class 3 at Liberty, and Class 2 and Class 1 down in Salem. So we'll do it again next week from the Plex here with On the Hash with Hatfield. Take care, everyone.